Hey there, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out with us again. One more time on Todd-Bits, Todd-versations. This is the place to come to chat and have good conversations about important issues. We're going to do that again today. I got a friend of mine here with me who is off doing some big things in a big way. And I'm excited because this is a conversation about food waste and we got to keep having them. So please, everybody, give it up for Gordon Robertson, the CEO of Verdant Technologies. Welcome.
God, it's good to talk to you. It's been a while, and looking forward to just joining you today and telling you the story about what we're doing at Verdant and the technology that we're bringing to the marketplace.
I can't wait. This is super, super exciting. Before we get into it, though, let's give everybody a little hello and who you are. Can you just give everybody a quick little who the hell's Gordon?
Who the hell's Gordon? I mean, you kind of go back and you take a look, and I spent about 20 years with the Campbell Soup Company. I entered the produce industry, about 14, 15 years ago now, working with Sunworld International, which was, an exciting move because I heard from everybody that I could never actually make it in the industry because I was coming from CPG. And, what I found was I love this business. I love what we do, the food that we bring to the marketplace, and, the pride that actually is part of that, right? Of being a grower, right? Of bringing something that's truly unique and exceptional to our customers, to the retailers, and to the consumers in the marketplace. So it's been an incredible journey. And about 4 years ago, I actually joined the extended shelf life technology side. So the biotechnology side of the business, ag tech. And I've been thrilled with those opportunities because of what it has done is it's given me the ability to think about how do we serve this industry even greater than, that experience that I had at Sunworld. So looking across multiple commodities and the reach of what technology can do for you and how it can help us and really drive value to all the constituents in the supply chain.
No two ways about it. And food waste is such a massive, massive issue. I mean, I look at it, two ways. One of which, the simple solution to food waste, because you're a food guy, you get it. Hey, increase consumption, reduce food waste. That's easier said than done. Still have a problem we have to solve, which is what you guys are doing. And I think it's really exciting. I mean, just to frame up for people, and I like to do this because I think it's important that people continue to hear this. What is how big is food waste in the United States?
It's big. And the thing that we talk about often is, frankly, it's just too big. And so what do we do about that, right? And so food waste is a huge thing, right? It's a big idea and something that we're all trying to impact. How do we make this planet more sustainable? But the reality is when we think about it is we've got to make that something that's real to the grower, real to the retailer, real to the consumer, right? So how can we make that happen? That's where, our technology begins to step in. And we talk about the challenges that are out there. We hear some big numbers, right? Upwards of 300 billion pounds of food are wasted a year here in the U.S. 500 to 1,000 pounds of food waste per individual. I mean, these are staggering numbers. But what we were working at Verdant to do is really bring that discussion down to what can I do? What can I do as a grower? What can I do as a retailer? And how can we benefit the consumer that we all serve in the process?
Right. Yeah, no doubt. A stat that I throw out all the time to put it in perspective for people, the food waste in the United States is the equivalent of every American from all 330 million of us, every American throwing away 650 small to medium-sized apples each. That number is so large. You have to you're using your phone, you got to turn your phone sideways to get it to fill out the screen. That's how big that number is. It's staggering. So when you think about
it's a staggering number, it's significant, but I think it's one of the big, one of the big drivers here, Todd, is, people have to understand that what we can do to impact that within the ethos that we manage, right?
Absolutely.
So we want to make that impact on the world, and how do we help nourish this world in a different way? But that has to become something that's very personal. And so, these technologies that we're talking about are ways to drive those efficiencies that have economic benefit to the grower, to the retailer, again, to the consumer. So it can serve all the constituents through the supply chain. But we've got to just get in to say, hey, what can we do in our individual spaces? So, that's part of the passion that I bring from being a grower, right? To being, that experience at Sunworld and seeing how we can make a reach across our industry help other categories that frankly are underserved by this type of a technology.
Yeah. Well, and we're going to talk about it. And one that I'm interested in what you guys do is the floral part of this, which we're going to get into, which I think is really super cool.
Yeah.
It's a really neat opportunity for folks. So, when you think about the produce space and food waste, I mean, where do you think the biggest issue comes from? I mean, obviously you cut it from the tree, you get it on a boat, you go through this thing. There's a long window of time, but when I think about it, it's like, where is the biggest issue? So the biggest issue on the farm side of it, like capturing these issues, or dealing with this immediately? Is it the packing shed once it comes off the tree, or is it even just at the retailer? Where do you think that lies?
Well, I think the issues lie through the entire supply chain, right? So we know that all along the way that there's waste, right? There's things that are happening within how we harvest, to how do we pack, to how do we ship, to how do we, hold and display and sell. And frankly, when we get to the consumer is where we know in the industrialized world where we have the largest amount of food waste.
Right.
But if we flip that over into, let's say, the emerging worlds, we're going to find that food waste problem is probably far more on the front end of that equation. So now we're talking about between harvest and pack and handling and ship, tremendous amount of loss, right? Because the technology that we have in the industrialized world isn't in many of those places today. So what are all some of the new technologies that we can leverage that can actually, those farmers, right, in those areas to get to new markets, to even get to the market so they can sell their product.
Right.
We can address that with, these technologies. And the beauty is what Harvest Hold does with you, right? So our product that we're bringing to market is we work in both of those arenas incredibly well.
Right.
Because our product is so portable. It can move up and down the supply chain. It can begin, application could happen at the farm. It could happen, at receiving. It could happen at, potentially a retail situation. And so we're looking all through the ecosystem saying, how do we impact that idea of food waste and make it very personal? Because these are real issues. These are real business issues. There's tremendous dollars that are being left on the table by all of us.
Yeah.
And those dollars can help serve this world better, right? And we know that we can, if we could bring the fruit, the food to market that we're wasting, we can address a lot of the challenges out there from a sustainable future that we're looking for. And as we think about how do we actually just do this better?
Yeah.
When we talk about, Verdant, kind of heart of what we're doing is how do we nourish more people in more places around the world, right? And this notion of nourishment is a big idea. And it's not just simply, hey, how do we feed people? Nourishment can come to the idea of how do we make this just a healthier planet? How do we put less inputs into the system? How do we nourish people, obviously? What's the nourishment, the economic nourishment that a grower needs? What's the economic nourishment that the retailer needs? So bringing, those different ideas of nourishment are ways to think about how a technology like ours can help in that process.
Yeah, no two ways about it. I mean, it is, and something to be mindful of, I think we need to continue this conversation as well, is that as the economy changes in this country, so does our consumption. Our consumption has a tendency to go down, right? Data supports that. So we need to be smart. We need to be able to make some of these solutions to your point, to help growers, help retailers, help consumers have a better experience. So we keep it moving, because we're not getting second generation farmers in a lot of ways. We got to uplift what we have. It's an issue. And I'm glad to see you guys are out there. So how would you describe yourself? I mean, you're a tech company, you're a food waste company. I mean, you guys are some cutting edge stuff. How, it's like, so what are you? What is it?
Thanks for joining the Todd-Versation. And now a word from our sponsor.
Hi, I'm Karen Nardotza, President and CEO of Moxie Marketing. On behalf of all the Moxers worldwide, thanks for listening to Todd-Versations and Todd-Bits. At Moxie, we're known for strategic marketing and PR, unique branding and packaging, award-winning web and graphic design, and trade show experiences that generate results. Whether you're selling B2B or B2C, a farmer, processor, commodity board, retailer, food service, or somewhere else on the supply chain, we make it easier to grow your brand and your business. From avocados to zucchini and petunias to protein, we help you tell your story, stand out, and achieve your goals. Get Moxie, and together we'll celebrate your success.
Yeah, I would describe us as an ag tech company, right? We are here to serve this industry. And how do we actually bring solutions to our growers, packers, shippers, marketers, retailers along the process to drive more efficiency, to make sure that we're not just, food is not being wasted at the rate that it is. Are we the silver bullet that answers every question? Absolutely not. But we have a technology that has tremendous reach that can stretch across that. But how we think as an organization is, let's work with our customers, with our partners, understanding their issues.
Yeah.
Not just our technology, help us understand your issue. And so when we understand that, how do we leverage this technology? Because the ease of implementation, the ease of delivery, I don't have to put in a huge capital investment to bring this technology inside of my packing operations. These things get very interesting, right, to our partners and our customers, because it's this notion of, I don't want to redefine my process flow. What I need to do is figure out how I tap into tools, this being one of those tools, that can help me drive more efficiency, better quality, extended freshness through the system, because that's what sells.
Right.
That's what generates more consumption for these categories. That's what really fuels the growth of this industry.
Yeah.
So when we can get consumers to take away more, when we can get the food service providers to take away more because they're servicing more, there's tremendous value generated for all.
Absolutely. Well, let's get into it. Well, I mean, let's dive in. What is Harvest Hold Fresh and how does it work?
Harvest Hold Fresh really is a unique product that is utilizing a proven technology in the industry. So it is 1-MCP, and 1-MCP has been utilized in our industry for 20 plus years.
Right.
Significantly in the palm fruits, apples, and pears in particular.
Mm-hmm.
The real uniqueness of our product, and you can see it in the picture behind you, is we have a delivery system like none other.
Right.
So it's very portable, it's shelf-stable. I can move it up and down the supply chain. As a grower, I buy this product and I stick it in a box. I know what I'm actually going to get when I do that.
Right.
And the reality is, what it is we are printing 1-MCP, which is a gas, on a substrate. And that substrate only activates with that natural interaction with the fruit. So when that fruit begins to respire in the box.
Right. So it wakes up basically and goes to work.
It activates the 1-MCP that's on that sheet, and that releases the gas. And so we take that application that, in many situations could be hundreds of millions of dollars of capital investment.
Yeah.
And I'm actually taking it down to the box level.
That's beautiful. I mean, talk about
so
control.
we are treating produce in a 20-pound container, in a 40-pound container, in a 5-pound clamshell, different ways to think about how do we bring a proven technology into many, many produce types that frankly have not been served because the technologies at this point don't match the supply chains they're serving. They don't work really, on a cohesive basis because of the ease of application, because the limited, investment in structure, the ease of application, it becomes very simple for the grower to execute.
Right. So it's just, you just toss them in the box, they stick into the boxes. What's the process?
Yeah, I mean, you literally, you look at the roll behind you, it's perfed in a sheet, and that sheet comes off and it goes inside of a box. And so we are doing that in many customers today, in their packing line operations. And so we have a number of dispensing systems that we've designed, really defined by where we're working, be if it's in the floral, space, or if it's in, peaches or broccoli or tomatoes specifically. Sure. So we've matched the systems to deliver that product with the commodities that we're working with or the packing house environments. But really, it's the ease of application that, as we've interfaced with many, many customers around this country and in Mexico and in Colombia, it really is the first thing they talk about.
Yeah,
this is that simple. It really gets into a discussion of simplicity, but that simple solution has huge ramifications.
For sure.
And that is actually the power of what, I believe we're bringing to the market with Verdant, and what Harvest Hold as a product can do for this industry and the impact it can have on the supply chains we serve.
I love it. What about, now you touched on a couple of items and just ramble them really quick. I mean, what items benefit from it? Everything?
Well, today, I mean, there's a lot of different items that can benefit from one MCP, but for us, because of the delivery system, we've done a lot of work, and we're focusing initially is broccoli, tomatoes, avocados, some melon business, and papayas initially. So that's been our focus as we've come out of the gate. We've had tremendous engagement from, the growers across the country and the growers in Mexico, because of, again, going back to that notion of the simplicity of what we're bringing to the marketplace and how we get into the system. It's not seen as this huge capital investment that I've got to do something differently.
Right.
And so it's understanding, hey, there's the value that we can drive within the supply chain.
I love it. I mean,
and that has been the huge benefit as we've come out. And it's been, we've been embraced, I think, very positively from many, many growers across numerous commodities for what we're doing and what we're bringing. The beauty in this whole thing, Todd, is that's just where we've started, right? We're just now coming to the commercial market. We've got 3 phases of product introduction, because these are the products that are impacted most of the ones that are highly affected by ethylene. So that is what we're fighting against, because ethylene is what tells fruit to age, right? It starts that senescence process, and it actually says, hey, the leaves turn yellow, the fruit dies, it falls to the ground, etc. Well, we're slowing that process down, and we're suspending that point of harvest, that point of quality, and that actually gives us time to work this product through the supply chain to our consumer to have even a better experience with the products that this industry is delivering on a daily basis.
It's super cool. And I love the fact that it really is. It's plug and play. It is not, it is real easy for folks to work with. I mean, I think about that. If you're putting something in a box, you got to close the box. So it fits real easy into that whole thought process, which is great.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Todd. It is the idea of plug and play, right? Sometimes we look at technology as complicated, and that's going to be difficult. And how are we going to actually do that? That is not the experience that we're having. Is we've gone out and talked to many, many growers around this country, what they see and what they, just initially they go, this is it? Yeah, that's it. Because there's a lot of power on that sheet of that we're going to be putting into your box in the system, because we know what it will do. It is a proven technology. It really is our novel delivery system. That is the unique point of difference here. And the beauty in this, in what we do, because of, let's say, some of the things that we do uniquely and how we manufacture this product, is we actually see atypical responses, not typical responses to 1-MCP, because there's been issues of, hey, does it lock up fruit, or does it stop the ripening process?
Right.
That's not what we have, because of how the product, releases the product, how it works within, that chamber of the box that it's in. We see very positive impacts on the fruits and vegetables that we serve. And we see that continuing ripening process. What we're simply doing is slowing it down.
Right. Yeah, you're not. Yeah, you're working. You're working with Mother Nature, not against her. And I think that's how you win the day. Well, let's talk about this a little bit. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Todd.
No, I was going to say, I want to talk a little bit about something you just touched on. I want to kind of run with it a little bit about trials and tests and things that you're doing around the world today, and where they're at, and on what are you doing, and some of your independent studies, because I think that's so important. Because a lot of times people say, oh, we've been doing this, we're running a test ourselves. Like, okay, well, that seems like it's a little bit weird, but you've got to get outside that, whether it's academia, you've got universities, extension services, whatever. Can you touch a little bit about some of that work that you're doing along those lines?
No, absolutely. Because, for us, it's imperative that we don't just look at ourselves, right? Yeah. That becomes a very one-sided discussion. And I think it's a big challenge when we want to work with, the appropriate, growers in the system as we're bringing this technology out to them initially, or we're talking with, major retailers on how, what we're doing. We want to verify that. And so, today we are working with MSU, so Michigan State University.
Go
We're
Sparty.
working with the University. Yeah, we're working with the University of Florida. We're working in SIAD in Mexico. So we are going out and validating the work that we've done in lab, the work that we've done, obviously, in our customers. We're seeing this tremendous efficacy, but we actually want to validate that with outside resources. So it's not just us talking about how great we are. It's actually other people saying, hey, this is something really unique.
Well, I think that's so
again,
important.
This notion of 1-MCP, it's not new. What we're doing is new. And so I say this to many people because I do hear, well, no, I understand 1-MCP. I've worked with it before. And I actually say, I appreciate that. And I know your experience is going to help us actually as we move through this process. But if you haven't worked with harvest hold, you don't know how 1-MCP works within your environment, because we have a unique delivery system. We have a different product. And so those are the discussions that we're getting into with our growers, right? Some of them experience, hey, this is what I had happen before, but they're not seeing that with what our product does, how it delivers, the application. It's a very different idea that's bringing real value and excitement to our customers that we deal with.
There's no doubt. And I mean, going back to two things we talked about, one of which the independent studies you're doing are so important, and being with universities is even more so, right? I mean, that's what you're leading into. But I go back to the convenience factor that you bring. I mean, you bring a viable solution that doesn't tax the system. It improves the system. It doesn't tax the system. And I think that's, in this world we're living in, and the economy and the pressure from everybody to be more efficient, whatever the hell that means anymore, it's super important that we look at things like this. And one of the areas that I think is super cool, and I'm going to shift gears on, if you don't mind, because it's behind me, is the floral business. Floral doesn't get a lot of love. Everybody loves them at Mother's Day and this and that, and they drive a pretty good margin for everybody, but they just don't get the loves like they should. So I'm a floral lover. I love the floral people. So I had to make sure we covered this, and I want to touch on it a little bit, but talk about harvest hold blooms for the floral industry. And again, how this works, and is there any kind of a difference between the two?
I mean, the beauty is, Todd, all fruits start as a flower.
Good point.
And so there's, and so I think it's kind of one of the key issues here. And so, we have developed a product for the floral industry. There is, very similar elements in the chemistry behind that.
Right.
But the reality is, this is actually where we have commercialized the business first, right? We have established a very, successful partnership, exciting partnership with Kreisel, who is a leading supplier to the floral industry. And so we have, entered the market in Colombia. We are selling there, commercially today, and we're expanding that footprint. And we're thrilled to be bringing a product with them. So we have branded it with them, Ethylene Buster Sheets, because the industry knows they have to do something to preserve life, right? So this notion of short lifespan, very delicate material that's moving through the system, our technology has the ability to bring solutions. But you also look at the floral industry, right? So they've utilized heavy metals, right? Silver is something that's been utilized to preserve freshness and longevity of products.
Right.
That's not going to fly in this world very long.
People don't know that.
They don't.
There's a lot of people going, what?
Yeah, and those are things that they're not going to last, because there's regulation that's happening globally. There's things that are going to say that that's not something that we're willing to accept. Our solution is going to bring a very strong alternative to what the industry has utilized historically, but how they're going to think about it in the future. And so, we're thrilled about our partnership with Kreisel, and we continue to expand, frankly, on a weekly basis as we are getting more and more grower adoption in the marketplace.
What do they say? I mean, what's the feedback? I mean, because it is revolutionary in a lot of ways. You're changing the game, you're simplifying the game, and respectfully saying that, not, but what are the growers and, the consumers saying through the floral category?
Well, I think the key right now is, what are the growers telling us, right? They're looking for solutions, right? And there's other 1-MCP solutions in the marketplace. This is, I believe, a real strong point of differentiation. Additionally, you look at, what's behind you there, right? It's a substrate that we printed the technology in. And if you look inside of most floral packages, it's utilized with, some form of this type of package as well. So we easily integrate into their packing operations. That's one real benefit, right? Then we're demonstrating very strong efficacy as that product is flowing, through country, arriving potentially into Miami, and then being distributed to, the floral distributors or our resellers around the country, very positive reactions. But I have to tell you that, in speaking with one grower here recently, he just basically summed it up very well for him. He says, bottom line, I've been utilizing a number of solutions. What I see in Harvest Hold is it's actually helping my bottom line.
Yeah. Right. Well, that's what you want to hear.
His business is improving. So,
right.
those are the realities of the business. The technology is here to unleash the power of how can we actually get these sensitive products, very ethylene, they're very reactive to ethylene, through the system, so they get not only enjoyed by the people who get to process them and pack them and sell them, but actually to the consumer who gets to actually take them into their homes. And when they have that experience, what happens?
Right.
They come back and buy more.
Absolutely.
And there is the circular loop that we're working to close. And we're very thrilled about how our technology is working here, right? We know what we're bringing to the grower, what we can bring to the retailer, and then what we think of from even the sustainability side of the business.
Mm-hmm.
This has tremendous impact about how can we drive just the right things for what we do.
Yeah.
It's like, I know we're on Bloom, but this whole idea of saying, what if I could actually, cube out a truck before I weigh it out in broccoli?
Right.
Think about the impact that has on, the greenhouse gas emissions, on the footprint of everything that we're doing. So not even getting to water in that discussion, but just think about the transportation potential efficiencies as I think about how do I use a technology like this to do things differently in my supply chain.
Yeah. Well, look, in my tenure, I've had people that have done projects and some big companies that, they're very large companies now, and some of the largest that have done some stuff where, they look at a box of lettuce or whatever the case may be, and it's like, well, there's 24 heads in there, but we only figure there's 20 in every one because we automatically know we're going to have a problem. They just assume it out the chute. And that's harsh, right? That goes back to the grower. It affects a lot of things. It's, food waste. So we do need to continue these conversations that are eliminating this and putting 24 heads or 40 pounds or whatever the case may be into the supply chain. And to your point earlier too, you mentioned, getting the product out there to the retailer, to the consumers. They need a good experience. You give them a tomato that makes them glow at night or, tastes like crap or whatever. They're not going to buy it a second time. You're not going to get a kid that can try something. And if we disappoint them because we're not trying hard enough to get it right, to get it on the shelf, to increase that consumption. I mean, it's a lot of hard work for a lot of people, and it just falls by the wayside. So to be able to help like this, you guys are doing, it's powerful.
No, Todd, it's an incredibly exciting point you've made right there to me. We're engaged with one key customer today that's, they're talking to us not just about, well, how do we utilize this to move it through the supply chain? They're saying, how do we think about this actually from a breeding perspective? So bringing new products to the marketplace, right? So, sugar acid ratios and high bricks and all these, other components of what we're really trying to do to delight the consumer so we can actually sell more product. But a lot of those products never make it to even past the initial trial because they can't make it through the supply chain.
Correct.
So you take a technology like ours potentially, and maybe let's say we give you 7, 10, 12 days of extra time. Well, does that bring the product offering to a different level?
Absolutely.
So we're engaging with a number of our customers. They're not just talking about how do we get it there and get it sold to, into the retail environment so we can actually sell these incredible products to the consumer. Now they're backing up saying, well, can we utilize the technology just as we think about new varieties?
Yeah. That's exactly what I was going to say.
That is an incredibly exciting opportunity when we think about the reach of the technology, right? And these ideas, because if we can make it a better experience for the consumer, we know what happens. They come back to the category. They buy more. And we get away from the idea that, that trash can used to be my best customer.
Right.
No. Your best customer is the consumers out here who actually, all the trends say, I want to eat better. I want to do things right for my family. I want to make it more nutritious. These are all the trends that are out there. How do we as an industry capitalize on that?
I agree 100%.
And that is, when we look at the total supply chain and we look at, Harvest Hold is a tool within there, those are the discussions we want to have with our customers. So how can we help be part of that?
Well, and to come around what you're saying about new varieties, I'm going to throw it back and go old school because we can. What about the old varieties? What about these varieties that, have been replaced because, to your point, they can't ship, they can't get through the supply chain. You go back and look at some of these varieties from, back 20, 30 years, there's amazing pieces of fruit that aren't in the marketplace anymore, that the consumers never had that experience. That to me is really exciting. Heirloom tomatoes, some of these things are just really tough to work with, that you provide an opportunity to create a new customer base or a new flavor profile or elevate a category, even if it's a small month-long window. You put juice back in the category, that's a win for everybody. So super exciting, dude. I love this.
No, it's a big deal, right? We obviously spent some time in the city together, right? And we know that there's a lot of breeding programs there, and I worked for one of them.
Yeah.
I'm not saying my technology is going to answer all of their questions. I'm saying those are things that we want to be working on. And there's places where our technology, in the tomato category, we have very clear, lots of data about what it does, but we also want to go work with other categories where we want to obviously mine the ideas, right? Think about this differently, because you're spot on. The amount of work, the amount of investment that's gone behind developing new varieties for our industry to create points of differentiation, to make an incredible experience for the consumer at the end, to bring them back to the categories. We leave a lot of those varieties on the shelf because they just can't make it through the supply chain the way it's been defined.
I know.
It's great. I love where you're going on this, Todd, because this is about redefining the supply chain. Mm-hmm. And how do I utilize what I have and what I don't have, or what I can bring inside of it to make it even better? Yeah. Or how do I take advantage of this to bring something unique and new to the marketplace that drives a great point of differentiation for you as the grower, the retailer, and frankly for the consumer as well.
100%. It's a food experience, man. We got to do it right, and it's how we're going to increase consumption, right? It's how we're going to make this country healthier and more. To your point, more nutrition into our diets by being able to put good stuff out there. And again, nobody wants to buy a tomato, or I'm not picking on tomatoes, but nobody wants to buy an apple, whatever it is, and get home and go, God, this sucks. You're going to go 0 for 1. There's not going to be an 0 for 2. There's not going to be a 1 for 1. You're going to be 0 for 1, and people move on. And we've got to be smart about that, because increasing consumption, getting food like we're doing, fruits and vegetables, especially in people's diets in a bigger way, is a good thing for this planet. It's a good thing for our health. It's a good thing for our country. There's so many benefits, and we need to keep leaning into it. So I'm stoked with what you guys are doing. I really am. I appreciate the fact that you guys are looking at this from the angle of, like, again, varietal stuff. It's so important to make that experience what it is. That's awesome.
We know many retailers, Todd, that have just said, we're not going to carry that category in this season anymore, because it's exactly what you talked about. It's just not a flavorful experience. I'm going to lose the shopper. I'm going to lose the member. And that's not going to happen for a week. You're going to lose them for weeks or months, because they're not going to come back until they see or feel or smell the confidence to actually buy again. And so, again, not that this is a silver bullet discussion, but this is part of a solution. And when we look at the entire solution, you put this together and you tap into technologies to improve the supply chains we work in today, it opens the market up.
Yeah.
And when we open the market up and we can bring things that can satisfy, our consumers again, they're going to come back to the categories and they're going to rebuy.
Yep.
And that's where you see growth, right? You see growth and you fuel the machine.
Well, and produce itself is, look, it's a challenge, right? Mother Nature's a challenge. Maybe it's too sunny, maybe it's too hot, maybe it's too wet. You don't have that necessarily the same problem in a can of pork and beans, right? It is what it is. It's going to be consistent, the same every time. And I think that the produce space gets hurt by some of that sometimes, and the consumer is very fast to react to that. So we've got to be mindful. So to see what you guys are doing like this is just such a powerful tool to lean into. I mean, I look at this as a positive cost of food. This is something that we need to be working at, coming alongside you, finding out what's next, being a part of what's next, because ultimately it serves everyone. If we can get people to increase consumption on an apple, the orange guys benefit. They ultimately do. And it's so important that we lean into it. Before we get our time runs out and before, we get rocking today. And I do want to ask a couple of questions about what I call the mothership, for lack of a better word. You guys have a great partnership. You've got some great folks that are loving up on you, which is GolfTEC, which is they're a powerhouse of the support system. I don't know how else to say it for the food industry. I mean, how has GolfTEC embraced you, and give us a little bit of how that's worked.
Well, Todd, it's been probably one of the I'd have to say one of the more positive experiences of my professional career. So I had the opportunity to, lead the sale of Verdant Technologies. And when we found a buyer, in GolfTEC International, who is an incredible partner. And so they brought us the economic wherewithal to begin to really scale the business. We have this incredible technology,
Right.
and now we're moving forward into the marketplace. And as I talked about earlier, we're doing business today in 3 countries. We're poised to do business in a lot more as we look north to Canada, into Central America, into Peru and Chile. We're moving down that regulatory roadmap to move forward. But one of the beauties of this relationship, and many people don't know GolfTEC.
No.
GolfTEC is a major force in our industry, right? I have
They
6
are.
sister companies. 5 of them touch this industry in a significant way. One of them is Sinclair Systems. But you think about our business, right? We print our product on a substrate. And how do we deliver those ideas, that technology throughout a supply chain? Well, my sister companies give me the ability to look at it differently, because we currently at GolfTEC do business in 85 countries. We have in excess of 1,000 employees. And so when I think about what I need to do to enter Colombia, I'm not thinking about that alone. I have a resource system behind me, GolfTEC being one, but then my sister companies being another, saying, here's what you need to do. Here's the support you're going to need to look up. Here's the entity setup that needs to be put in place. So you look at what GolfTEC and those companies are bringing to, one, help Verdant, and then 2, how can Verdant help them? It's a very exciting equation of what the future can look like.
I love it. You guys were not a huge company, X amount of employees. Now you've got over 1,000. You're in 85 countries. I mean, you guys have grown really fast overnight. What do you think the best lesson that they've given you, in your personal opinion, some of your learnings from them? Because it's a unique perspective they bring, right?
I think that, and I was told this just recently in a discussion as I was spending some time with the GolfTEC executive committee, and they basically looked at me and said, Gordon, you have one shot, you better go for it. But when somebody tells you that, and if they don't stay with you, that's kind of like a hollow promise, right?
Yeah.
But what I've learned is that GolfTEC is all about being part of the solution with you, and what are the necessary investments to make that happen, and how do you leverage this infrastructure, right? So our business is much smaller than GolfTEC's today. We are 35, 36 people, but this infrastructure around us gives us the ability to think far more globally and act more globally than where we are at from our relative size today. That is one of the biggest lessons, and frankly, one of the biggest opportunities that sits in front of us.
Well, something I'll tell you, brother, I'll be honest with you, confidence is worth more than money sometimes, isn't it? And having that,
this one to me, Todd, is actually more than just confidence, because these are proven entities that are successful and thriving around the world. And for us, personally, what we're doing with Verdant, we need that perspective. It means it accelerates our learning as we enter a market at a rate that, frankly, I don't see, many of the competitive set have that ability to do, because we know how to operate in these foreign countries. We actually have established businesses and an entity, and how do we set that up to support a new technology and a new company like Verdant?
I love it. So let's go. Here's a $100 question. This is where I want to go. We're going to the gossip round. What's next? What's going on? What's exciting? Not that you're not kicking ass anyways and doing some really cool stuff, but I know you well enough. You got something in your back pocket you're going to tell me. I feel it coming. Come on, lay it on.
All right. Well, first thing is, obviously we've got registration, but when you get, federal registration, then you've got to work your way across the country. We look to the future, right? New markets. Canada is on the near horizon. Central America is on the very near horizon. Peru, Chile. These are places where we have a very clear roadmap to how we're going to expand. So we see those as potential new markets, as we really follow the growers and the marketers that are serving our customers. We have to make sure that we can move with them, because this is about scale, Todd. And there is one of the things that, we're thrilled about, right? When you look at the simplicity of our delivery system, you look at the simplicity of the product itself, our ability to scale is unlike none other. We can move through the supply chain as we get those regulatory, roadmaps knocked down and those markets open to where we can do the application. So we're thrilled about that. The other piece is there's just a pipeline. There's a pipeline of new commodities. There's a pipeline of new products, right? We have ideas and we've got things that we've been working on that we know can continue to bring new thinking and new solutions to the supply chains and the problems that we're trying to help our customers, answer, and how do we serve them best.
Right on.
And then lastly, I would just say that, something that I believe about passionately is, I love the opportunity to join this industry. I have found it one of the most rewarding things in my career. And I'm here to serve this industry. How do we do that best? How do we work with our grower partners? How do we work with the retail partners? How do we make this a relationship? And how do we make sure that we're working on the problems that are most important to the issues of them? And so, we're going to serve this industry. We're going to focus on the needs of it. And then we're going to figure out, what does nourishment look like?
I love it.
We're here to talk about how do we nourish this world in a different way. That's what we are about. And it's really what I'm probably, as proud of anything today is the team that we are building to make that come to life.
I got to tell you, brother, to be very honest with you, I can hear the passion and the excitement in your voice and see it in your responses and how you're taught. You are fired up like I've never seen before. And I love it. It's great to see. It's infectious to be around and listen to this, because you are pumped for what you're doing, because to your point, you want to nourish the world. And I think it's a fantastic position to take.
It's one of those things, I've had the opportunity to be in this space for a while, but when I see the reach that our technology has, in particular across many white space categories that aren't getting served at all, it's incredibly exciting.
I love it. Congratulations, man. Congratulations.
Yeah.
And thank you for hanging out with me today. Thanks for making the time and getting the message out. And because I think it's so important that we keep this conversation, and people need to know what you guys are doing, and pick up the phone, get online, make it happen, make a phone call. Let's go, people. Let's go nourish the planet. Let's reduce food waste. Let's work on better consumption. Bring back some old varieties. Let's go. I'm all about that. I'll be the first guy in line for some of that stuff. I'm all in. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you being here. I really do. Thank you.
Absolutely, Todd. It was a pleasure spending the day with you.
Cool. I appreciate it. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us, and get online, check them out. Food waste. Let's get into it. Keep talking. Talk amongst yourselves. How can we make changes? It's an important thing. I say it all the time. Go inspire somebody. What Gordon and his team is doing is inspirational. They're doing some really heavy lifting for us, and we need to lean in and help them do some more lifting. Let's make it work for them, and let's reduce food waste, because we all need to do it. Take care of everybody. Don't forget, check us out on social media. That's where the cool kids are. That's where we are. And we'll see you on the next program, Todd-Versations, Todd-Bits. We appreciate everybody. Take care.